All right, today we are diving into Cal Newport's game-changing idea, deep work. I mean, this is a must-read for anyone trying to get real, meaningful stuff done in a world that feels like it's designed to do one thing, and that's interrupt you constantly.
So let me ask you something. Ever get to the end of a super busy day, look back, and just feel like you got absolutely nothing done? I mean, your calendar was full, your inbox might be a little cleaner, but you have this nagging feeling that you didn't move the needle on anything that actually matters. Sound familiar? What is going on there?
Well, if you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. According to Cal Newport, that feeling has a name. You've been spending your day swimming in what he calls the shallows. And honestly, he says it's a modern epidemic. So let's figure out what's causing this.
Okay, so before we can even talk about the solution, we really have to get our heads around the problem. And this isn't about you being lazy or bad at time management. No, Newport argues it's way bigger than that. It's baked into the very fabric of our modern work culture, which he calls the age of distraction.
Just think about your typical modern workplace for a second. You've got those open offices, right? Supposedly for collaboration, but a lot of the time, they just create this constant hum of noise and distraction. Then you have instant messaging, where every ping demands an immediate reply, basically shattering your focus into a million tiny useless pieces. And on top of all that, there's this weird pressure to have a polished social media presence, pulling you even further away from the work you're actually supposed to be doing. And all of this stuff, it feeds into what Newport calls a culture of connectivity. It's this subtle but powerful idea that being visibly online and available is more important than actually producing high-quality results. And let me tell you, that is a really dangerous trap to fall into. So this brings us to the main culprit here, shallow work. This is the official definition. But really, what is it? It's all that busy work. You know, the stuff that fills up our days but doesn't actually challenge us or create anything new or valuable. We're talking about clearing out your inbox, tweaking a PowerPoint for the 10th time, jumping from one status meeting to another. It feels like you're being productive, right? But the real question is it the right work?
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Here's the core issue. In most knowledge work, it's actually really hard to measure productivity. Like, what does a good day's work even look like? Since we can't easily measure it, we fall back on a proxy, a stand-in, and that proxy is just busyness. We start thinking that being seen to be busy, firing off emails and running around, is the same thing as being effective, but it's not.
Okay, so if shallow work is the big problem, then why is its opposite, deep work, so incredibly valuable, especially right now? Well, the answer has everything to do with some massive tectonic shifts happening in our economy.
Newport highlights what a lot of economists are calling the Great Restructuring. And what that means in simple terms is that technology is moving so blindingly fast that it's rewriting the rules of the job market as we speak. This is creating a huge divide, a split between the people who are going to thrive in this new world and, well, those who might get left behind.
So who's going to win in this new economy? Newport breaks it down into three main groups. First, you've got your high-skilled workers, the people who are masters at working with really complex machines and data. Then you have the superstars. These are the people who are the absolute best at what they do, in the entire world, because technology gives them a global stage. And finally, you have the owners of capital, the folks who are smart enough to invest in and own all these new technologies. So the big question is, how do you get into one of those groups? Newport says it all boils down to two crucial abilities. Number one, you have to be able to master difficult things, and master them quickly. And number two, you have to be able to produce at an elite level. We're talking top-tier quality and speed. And what's the one thing, the one skill that powers both of those abilities? You guessed it, deep, uninterrupted focus. And that brings us right to the solution, the antidote to all that shallow nonsense we talked about. Let's really dig into what this powerful, incredibly rare, and deeply meaningful skill of deep focus actually is. So here it is, the official definition of deep work. And just notice how completely different it is from shallow work. The first key is distraction-free concentration. The second is that it pushes your brain to its absolute limit. It's supposed to be hard. And this is the most important part. The result is that you create something of new value, you improve your own skills, and you make yourself and your work very, very hard to replicate. So if this skill is so valuable, why is it so rare? I think this quote really gets to the heart of the matter. We live in what he calls a technopoly, which is basically a culture that just accepts any and all technology without really thinking about the downsides. Our culture celebrates what's new, what's fast, what's connected. But deep work?
That's built on a whole different set of values. Older values, quality, craftsmanship, mastery. Our modern world just isn't built to support that kind of work.
But here's the thing, the payoff for deep work isn't just about money or career success. Newport tells this incredible story about a master blacksmith, Rick Furrer. And for this guy, the intense, focused, distraction-free process of forging a perfect sword, that gives him a profound sense of meaning in his life. Deep work can do the exact same thing for us knowledge workers. It connects us to our craft and gives us a sense of fulfillment that you will just never, ever get from clearing your inbox.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of deep work. That's the first step. But now for the big question, how do you actually do it? Well, Newport lays out a really practical system built around a few key rules.
The very first thing, and this is crucial, is a massive mindset shift about your tools. See, most of us have what Newport calls the any benefit mindset. We'll sign up for a new app or social network if there's any possible benefit, right? We completely ignore the massive cost of distraction. Instead, he says we need the craftsman approach. You have to be absolutely ruthless. Only use a tool if its benefits massively outweigh its downside.
Okay, next up, you have to actively drain the shallows. How? He gives 3 practical tips. First, schedule every single minute of your day. Now, this isn't about being a robot, it's about being intentional so you know where your time is actually going. Second, figure out how deep your tasks are. He has this great test. Ask yourself, how long would it take me to train a smart college grad to do this? The longer the answer, the deeper the work. And third, and this is a big one, actually talk to your boss and agree on a shallow work budget, a set limit on how much of your time should be spent on those low-value tasks. Now, look, there is no one-size-fits-all way to do this. You have to find a philosophy that actually works for your life. Maybe you're the monastic type, where you just eliminate shallow work almost entirely. Or maybe you're bimodal, splitting your time into big chunks, like these days are for deep work and these days for everything else. You could be rhythmic, building a consistent daily habit of deep work, like writing for 90 minutes every morning. Or you could be journalistic, and you just snatch deep work sessions whenever and wherever you can. The point isn't that one is better than the others. The point is to find the one that works for you. So when you start putting all these rules and philosophies together, you realize this is about way more than just being productive at your job. This is about designing a life of focus, a life of meaning, and a life of real impact. And if you want a perfect, real-world example of just how powerful this kind of intense focus can be, well, Newport says you don't have to look any further than the origin story of Microsoft.
So get this. Back in 1974, a young Bill Gates saw an ad for the very first personal computer, the Altair, and he just dropped everything. For 2 solid months, he went into the state of pure obsessive focus, writing the basic software for that machine. I mean, we're talking about working so hard he would literally fall asleep on the keyboard, wake up a few hours later, and just start coding again, right where he left off.
And that right there was the key difference. His partner, Paul Allen, was a brilliant guy, no doubt, but his interests were kind of all over the place. Bill Gates, on the other hand, was what Newport calls a serial obsessor. It was that one single trait, that ability to go deep and focus obsessively, that allowed him to build an entire empire.
And this really brings us to the final, ultimate takeaway from the book. Newport doesn't just end with a list of tips. He ends with a personal declaration, a choice. He says, I'll live the focused life because it's the best kind there is. He believes it's more productive, sure, but also more meaningful and just better. And so the question he leaves hanging in the air for all of us is a simple one. Will you?